Sometimes you need to just remember to get out of your own way because it's important to realize and take accountability for the fact that all the issues or most of the issues that you struggle with anyway are of your own doing. Like where you are today is based on what you did in the past. And I'm sure we all can understand and recognize that, but it's hard to constantly remind yourself of that in the moment, especially when you're, as we all do, when you're feeling your emotions, when you're in your feelings, when you're in the middle of a slump, of a crisis, whatever it is. Because even from my own experience, someone who I feel like I'm pretty self-aware, I feel like I'm pretty conscious of what I do day to day. And for me, I still struggle to snap myself out of the negative thinking sometimes, out of the condition, like the mental conditioning that we all have, because we're all mentally conditioned based on our past and the feelings that we've experienced in the past, to a point where sometimes you can almost be addicted to these chemicals in your brain that are released when you're feeling certain emotions, even if these emotions aren't positive ones. Because what our body craves is familiarity, comfort, being able to predict. And when you actually want to change for the better and create a new reality for yourself, your body almost fights back, because your body and your mind is afraid of the unknown. It doesn't know what's going to happen, so it tries to convince you that it's scary and that the things you don't know about are out there to hurt you and that you should stay in your cocoon of comfort. And I think all of us are guilty of doing that. Whether it's just picking the easy option or just believing your negative thoughts sometimes. But it's important to also remember that these negative thoughts that you experience, a lot of the time they aren't actually you. Because I'm sure you know who you are. You know the kind of things you want to do. You know the kind of thoughts you want to have. And a lot of time these aspirations that we have don't align with who we are presently. And this can be very frustrating. I personally find it very frustrating anyway, when you know exactly what you want to do, but it feels like your inner world is fighting against it. And that's why it's important to do your best to try and get out of your own way, because it is you, I would say, the past version of yourself that is fighting against your current self. Because I think your past self knows that if you want to reach that future self that you want, you're going to have to sacrifice this old version of you. The old version of you that has all the best and worst memories. The old version of you that was the foundation of your psyche. The old version of you that created your identity almost. And having to understand that you're going to have to ditch that old part of you can be really difficult, especially since we've all been conditioned to kind of be adverse to change. If you think about it, just throughout life, how often is change really forced upon you? Unless it's, something school-based, or maybe you move town or city or something. Other than that, you are kind of almost pushed towards just being safe and playing it safe. But internally, when you want to make a difference in your life, when you want to grow, you literally have to fight against your basic urges to stay the same. And for me, something that's really helped me win this battle more than I lose it. I do still lose it sometimes, but it's to remind myself that the feelings I feel aren't who I am. Like, I'm not these feelings. I'm just almost like just watching these. I'm like perceiving these feelings. Like, I'm almost just like I kind of want to try to disconnect myself from these feelings and understand that they're not who I am. That instead of saying, I am depressed, even just saying I am feeling, I'm feeling depressed, or I'm feeling feelings, or I'm feeling things that make me think I'm depressed. Even though it may sound stupid just changing the wording like that, I find it very effective, because when you understand that these feelings that we all feel, both good and bad, they're not permanent. Even like, think about it, the worst day you ever had, it's gone, it's in the past. Same with the best day you've ever had, the best experience you have, it only exists up here. And it is our brains up here that determine most things about us. It determines what we do each day. It determines the kind of energy we put out into the world. And I think it's so difficult sometimes to kind of get a grasp on being able to control your brain and your thoughts, to the point where most of us just kind of give up and just become slaves to our brains almost, and our wants and our desires. Because I've had to realize that changing your path doesn't mean giving up. Like, being on one route and then realizing halfway through that, okay, this is not going to take me where I want to go, and then changing your destination and going somewhere else is fine. It's perfectly fine. That's not giving up. Because I used to tell myself that, if I didn't fully commit to something and just go all in it and ignore all the other options, that it was failing. And this was a mindset that I have probably inherited from my childhood, my surroundings, what I've heard people say to me when I was younger. And now that I'm older, I've had to realize that a lot of these opinions that I have and these perspectives I have in my brain weren't actually created by me. They were kind of just passed on to me, and I've just absorbed it and then now taken it as my own identity. So it's important to do a review of your thoughts and your opinions and really question yourself, like, do I actually believe in the things I tell myself? Like, the things I tell myself, is this like, the things that I tell myself, is this what I would tell someone I care about? Like, would I tell, like, is this the sort of advice that I give a friend or someone that I loved? And if it's not, then that's a big sign that these thoughts are not yours and that you shouldn't identify with them. Because I'm not sure if it's just me, but sometimes it feels almost like embarrassing or shameful when you try and love yourself. Because for me, the way I show love to myself is by making sure I do the right things, by trying to make sure that I'm on the right path, trying to make sure that I'm keeping to my word. But when you do all these things, there's always resistance. And that resistance is always internal, because, as I said, there's a version of you that doesn't want you to change. There's a version of you that wants you to be exactly who you are today forever. And if you don't fight that version, if you don't fight that inner, I don't even know what it is, that inner voice that wants you to be afraid of everything, you're going to just end up just having so many regrets, and you'll probably just wake up one day and realize that you're living a life that you didn't even want. And that's something I'm really afraid of, to be honest. Like, I think that's my own definition of hell. Like, waking up one day and looking around and being like, oh wow, I didn't choose any of this, I didn't want any of this, but I just let myself go down this far, that this is my reality now. So yeah, I think treating yourself like a friend, treating yourself like someone you care about is so important. and you've probably heard it so many times, and you've probably even tried it a couple of times, but it's important to consistently treat yourself like someone you care about. Like, don't be ashamed to love yourself. Don't be ashamed to look after yourself. Even if people point it out and be like, oh, okay, I see you're doing this thing and you didn't used to do that. Just embrace it. Embrace change. Because I feel like in our generation and just in society now, it feels almost like shameful to change. Like, it feels like you have to be right or wrong. And if you're wrong, you have to just stay wrong. You can't change your opinion after you learn new information, apparently. But with yourself, you need to understand that you're always going to be changing. And if you aren't changing, then you're not living. Because I feel like someone who is stagnant and doesn't want to change is basically already dead. And this fear of change, I think it comes from like a vacancy or like a gap that we have in ourselves internally, and we just fill that space and that void with our past experiences, or we just fill it with inaction and just being apathetic, trying to convince yourself that you don't care about things, trying to convince yourself that nothing matters, trying to convince yourself that you're fine just wasting your life, wasting your time. When we all know we're just lying to ourselves when we say that to ourselves. We all know internally we want to live a life of abundance, a life that you can feel empowered to live, a life that you wake up every morning, or most mornings anyway, and you're actually excited to live that day. And the only way you can do that is by getting out of your own way. Stop preventing yourself from doing the things that are right for you because it's uncomfortable. Because you don't want these temporary feelings of being, afraid of discomfort to, create these permanent consequences for you. Because I can say, without doubt, like my past self that was lazy, my past self that was unmotivated, my past self that was depressed and just didn't want to get out of bed. Like, I've had to deal with the consequences of living life like that. And if I'm being honest, it wasn't worth it. The days and months and years of living in comfort and just wanting to relax and not do anything, it comes with a price. And I think we all know that we don't want to live a life of just comfort and just meaningless fun and stuff. It's because of course it's important to live in the moment, but moments are only moments, aren't they? Yeah, I think I just wanted to make this video to get some things off my chest. Just had a lot of thoughts recently, and I found myself back in some habits that I know aren't serving me, that aren't taking me in the direction I want to go. So I'm making this video for you and for myself to remind myself of the direction I want to go in my life and the things I want to get out of this life and the way I need to treat myself. So yeah, I hope you found some sort of value in this video, that if nothing else it maybe made you feel not so alone in this world, that there are other people that think like you, and there are other people that want the best out of themselves and others. So yeah, thanks for listening, and I'll speak to you soon.